Good afternoon to the world. I am Gringa, Hadley Bajramovic, and with me is
Hola, hello everyone. It's me, Zayra Ivette Padilla, la Chapina from
we
Chapinlandia.
from Chapinlandia, and I'm in Riverside, California. And today we would like to talk about the second, less talked about Biden relief that he announced on June 17th that people are calling the Dreamer Relief. Some people are calling it D3 or 212 D3. And uh, now that we are listening to the Republican National Convention, I think it's important that people know what could happen and what this could mean as a backup or a plan B. And as a plan B, it's really actually a very solid plan. So, Zara, you told me like you've been watching comments that people are making about the announcement. Have you seen any comments from people about the Dreamer plan?
They're really not focusing on that at all. Like they're just
Yeah,
focusing about, you're married to a US citizen, you're able to, proceed, you're gonna be able to adjust inside the US, but they don't make any comments about the DACA relief, which is very interesting.
it is because I mean it's. I think it's because it's complicated and not a family-based
Mm-hmm.
relief, and
Mm-hmm.
most of the nonprofits around California and they don't do employment-based immigration, and this is kind of a combination of undocumented uh, status and employment-based immigration coming together. And I started in employment-based immigration. My career started basically as an intern at Siskin Sussor in Memphis. But then I went to be the director of the International Scholar Center at the University of California, Riverside. And so my job there was to prepare and file H-1Bs. And then when we opened the law firm, we got into all the other, I call it the alphabet soup, because you have TNs, Ls, Os, M, F, J, yeah, there's so many, there's a variety of employment-based visas. And in the Biden announcement, there was a second relief that said the terms are if you have an education in the United States, which is a higher education where you graduate from a
Mm-hmm.
4-year college or 2-year degree program, then there's going to be some accessibility to a non-immigrant visa, one of the alphabet letter visas. And a lot of people are like, I've got DACA. Well, people with DACA, okay, I get that. But what about the people that
Mm-hmm.
don't have DACA that graduated because the DACA program ended and we have a
Mm-hmm.
whole new generation that are going through college now that were too young to apply for DACA, and so they have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this relief could help them, but it also could help DACAs because we know that if Trump is elected, there's a call right now from the Project 2025 to end the DACA program. And so that's why I asked Zayra if we could talk about this today and make sure that, first of all, DACAs, please get advanced parole. Please do that. Get a legal
Mm-hmm.
entry. If you already have a legal entry, you're fine. It's not the reason why we want you to have a legal entry is the same concept, legal concept as the parole in place. If you have a legal entry
Mm-hmm.
and you're married to a U.S. citizen, then you can adjust status. And that's what parole in place is.
So yeah, I think it's so important to take that in account, because like like I said, I think it's just too complicated that people are not connecting the dots of like, okay, it's like a non-immigrant, but then they're saying that they're eligible for these other visas, non-immigrant visas also. So I think that's why it's just too complex for most people. So they're not talking about it because, like I said, and all the people that are, and I follow some very knowledgeable, people that, share their information, and they haven't mentioned that once about this. So it's just very interesting and concerning because, the DACAs are not very getting a lot of information that they really need. And like Hadley said, they really need to apply for advanced parole as soon as possible because, like we all know, if the ex-president, gets elected, then he will definitely get rid of DACA because he tried to do that. I mean, he did, kind of thing. So I think it's very important to get informed, to stay informed, and just talk about this as much as you can to really make a difference in this generation of DACAs that we are like, we feel so part of it because when it started, we were just like overwhelmed with all these DACAs that were like, yes, we're able to do this. We're able to go to college and do all these different things that we weren't able to do before because we didn't even know that we were not U.S. citizens. So it's just like a very important to us for them to get the proper information um, and the clarity of these processes if whatever they can get um, y por esa razón es tan importante recalcar de lo importante de mantenerse informados, no solo tal vez escuchar videos en diferentes redes sociales o lo que sea, sino leer realmente empaparse de toda esta información que es tan importante, porque hablamos con Hadley que no hemos realmente escuchado casi nada sobre el otro anuncio que dio el presidente Biden sobre las personas que tienen DACA o que son dreamers, que se le llaman, que son personas que no pudieron obtener DACA porque eran o muy jóvenes o por X razón no lo pudieron hacer. Por esa razón ellos no prosiguieron con este proceso. Pero es tan importante de conocer qué es lo que les aplicaría en este proceso. Por ejemplo, sería un estatus no inmigrante de una visa no inmigrante, que por esa razón creo que no se habla mucho porque el tema es complicado y no todos realmente estamos al tanto o de este proceso. Por eso es muy importante organizarse, platicar, informarse y tener obviamente formas de informarse de la forma correcta, porque a veces solo nos confiamos en ver videos o en redes sociales o lo que sea y realmente no indagamos más en personas o en organizaciones que realmente tengan un conocimiento a un nivel que puedan entender por qué razón esto es tan importante para las personas que tienen DACA. Estamos hablando que usted tiene que tener una licenciatura de una universidad de 4 años o dependiendo del colegio que fue de 2 años puede hacer, pero es muy importante que se enteren y sepan por qué razón a ustedes les aplique este proceso.
So I have an idea. Okay, let's do a case study. That's what we love to see in all of the guidance that's given by the different nonprofits that train and teach us all on new processes. Alex is going to be my example. Alex graduated from UCR, which is in our backyard, UC Riverside, with a 4-year degree in engineering. And Alex is undocumented. Alex was brought as a baby by mom and dad, and Alex is too young to have DACA. So now Alex has a degree in engineering, and he's not able to get a job in engineering because he doesn't have work authorization. He has the degree, but he doesn't have work authorization. This relief would allow Alex to apply for a visa. So Where is Alex from? He is from Mexico. Mexico and the United States have an agreement called NAFTA, and under NAFTA there is a visa called the TN visa. It's a non-immigrant visa. So under the Biden plan, Alex could apply for a TN visa and a waiver because he's been in the U.S. undocumented, and ask the government to excuse that he was here undocumented and grant the TN visa, because with Mexican nationals, this is a very easy consular process. Or for a Mexican national, you could apply for the TN in the U.S., have it approved, go to a consular interview, but that would be kind of a waste of time. Anyway, the government on the 3 days ago or 2 days ago clarified the waiver that Alex could apply for, and it's called the 212D3, and gave guidance for a consular officer to approve the two if the person has a good degree in the United States. And it's still not super clear what this means, and I know they're going to clarify it more up until the end of August. But the idea is that Alex would re-enter the U.S. with the TN, and then he will be in status, and then he can renew the TN indefinitely. And what my colleagues and professionals are talking about across the United States is Alex now able to be sponsored by his employer. And the answer is yes, but he probably has a 10-year bar, which he can serve out after entering the U.S.
That's what I was gonna. That's the question I was gonna ask Hadley about the unlawful presence and how he's gonna serve that.
Well, so he can come back in a TN and renew his TN for 10 years, and then he served his 10-year bar, and then he can adjust
inside the US because
he has status. And I know a lot of my colleagues are talking about the H-1B being problematic because it's a 6-year visa, not an indefinitely renewable visa like the TN. Now, the TN is only available to Alex because he's a Mexican national. It would be also available to Canadian nationals. The H-1B could take somebody through 6 years, and we don't know exactly what would happen after that. But during that time that somebody's in a status, the employer could petition them through the perm process. We would just have to figure out how to cure the unlawful presence bar and to keep, Alex in status. And, I don't know if this was easy to follow, but with Alex and a TN, there's no problem because you can renew a TN indefinitely for 10 years and, serve out the bar inside the U.S. and then adjust inside the U.S. through an employer perm. Not so clear how that would work for an H-1B because you can only renew the H-1B 6 years.
6 years. And the TN is an indefinite visa.
It's indefinite.
Renewable visa.
Right. And then there's the E2, which Mexican nationals have access to, Canadian nationals have access to. And in that case, the Mexican national, if Alex graduated with an MBA and opened his own business, invested in his business, well, he could do the same thing, but with an E2 investor visa. And we're not talking about a high investment. I mean, you could start a business with $20,000 investment.
$20,000.
Yeah, a lot. We've had several E2 approvals in Mexico with 20.
Yeah, because a lot of people get confused about the investor visa. They believe that they have to have like $500,000 to $1 million because that's what they heard before.
Well, that's the immigrant visa. That's the EB-5.
Yeah.
We call that the fat cat visa because you have to be really rich for that one. But that's a green card. That's a different category of visa. What I'm talking about.
Pretty much you're buying a green card.
Yeah, you're buying a green card. But with the E2, you're coming into the U.S. if you're a Mexican national for 4 years. If you're a Canadian national, it's 5 years, and that one's renewable in perpetuity. So there's an unlimited renewal there as long as the business is running, is real and operating, staying in compliance with the regulations, and the individual could serve out the bar that way. But the individual could not petition themselves for a perm. But let's say Alex has his MBA, gets the
Mm-hmm.
E2 and the 212D3 waiver, re-enters the U.S., and renews the E2 for 10 years and is super successful. You know, maybe he comes up with some app for 212D3s and it becomes super successful. Then he could probably apply for an EB1 self petition green card. And so once he's been in the U.S. for 10 years, he served out the bar and then he petitions his own green card based on his success. So I see that happening.
And you're talking about an engineer.
Well, I switched to MBA. In that scenario,
Oh, okay, okay.
Alex was an MBA. He became an MBA.
Okay.
Maybe he has an engineering degree too. Maybe he did his bachelor's as an engineer, went on to an MBA, developed his own app, got an E2, CEO of his own business, and then self petitioned after 10 years. But all of these 212D3 cases involves the dreamer to leave and re-enter the U.S., so they'll have a legal entry. And if somebody
Mm-hmm.
is a DACA, then they could get advanced parole so they can come back. They don't have the insecurity of not being able to come back. They'll have the advanced parole to allow them to come back, which,
Yeah, and I
is
think
debatable whether they.
I think that's what causes them to be, afraid of leaving the only country they've known, to go out and be able to come back. But we have been so successful in these advanced parole processes or DACAs for many, many years already. So I think it's just um, showing them that we know what we're doing, that we've been doing this for so many years already, and that they will be able to do that. Because like our last consultation, Hadley, they come from another attorney that I'm just guessing he didn't really have an experience like the experience that we have. And they were like, can you please be honest with us and tell us? Because last time I left the office of the attorney crying and I couldn't believe that my husband could not get a status in this country and blah, blah, blah. So, and she asked me, can you please be honest? Are you able to help us? And I was like, yes, if we weren't able to help you, I would have Hadley would have told you right away, and we would have explained to you why we cannot help you. And so they just want this reassurance of, yes, we know what we're doing, we have experience. And I told her, I've been doing this for 14 years, has been doing this for 20 years, and we take many cases that other attorneys don't want to take. And so it's just a lot of our community, it's just been defrauded so many times, or are afraid of trusting attorneys in general, because they believe that they just take advantage of the immigrant community, because they know the law, and they think, and they can just tell you if something is that you're eligible for something. At the end of the day, they're like, you know what, it didn't work, sorry, kind of thing. So it just reminds me of how important it is to be trusted in the community, and be transparent and honest with them, and explain the things to them of why are you eligible, why you're not eligible, and explain to them, because many of them, they just come from another attorneys that were never explained anything. Or like I said, there's always good and bad. There's also good attorneys. But sadly, the most of the information that we are provided is because they're coming from other places because they were defrauded or given really wrong advice, even though the were attorneys who were giving this advice to them.
Yeah, so on this one, we're glad to meet with anybody who wants a consultation, we do them free. And especially with this relief, because there are not as many general practitioners in immigration as there are family based attorneys. And the employment based visa is hard. And on that, to that point, there are not a lot of employment based attorneys that know how to file undocumented family cases. So we have this unique set of skills here where we do both. We've done both for 20 years. Click on the link to book a consultation with us. We're more than happy to look at your CV, to assess your chances for a non-immigrant visa if you are a dreamer, if you're a DACA, and don't hesitate, because we don't know what's going to happen with this election.
Yeah. Sí, es tan importante de que obtenga la información correcta. Por favor, no dude en hacerle clic al enlace de nuestra página, donde ustedes pueden programar una cita gratuita para platicar con nosotros, y nosotros les indicaríamos qué podemos hacer por ustedes, qué no. Y les explicamos, tomamos nuestro tiempo en explicarles a ustedes por qué razón les aplica este proceso o no. No solo decimos no y punto, o sí, y pues ahí veremos cómo, no. Así que es tan importante que sigamos informándonos. Por favor, comenten en nuestro podcast que le gusta, si las pláticas que hemos tenido les han interesado, si les gustaría que platiquemos más sobre otras cosas, etcétera. Estamos más que felices de la Gringa, Hadley y yo, la Chapina, de platicar con ustedes y darles toda la información posible y mantenerlos al día con toda esta información que sabemos que es tan importante para la comunidad migrante de este país. Así que fue un gusto platicar nuevamente con ustedes. Espero que sigan viendo nuestros videos y no se les olvide compartirlos con sus familiares, y si tienen alguna pregunta, por favor, no duden en hacérnosla.